What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Blue River Bow Hunting, episode 54. I got a fellow Hoosier lined up this week. Pretty cool episode lined up. Dustin Apple, a.k.a. WhiteriverRambo. What's going on, man?
How you doing, Brett?
Not too bad. I'm glad you decided to join me one night and do an episode.
Sure, man. We've been trying to do this for a couple nights. Just hadn't worked out. We'll get her knocked out.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, so for somebody that doesn't know you or the content that you create, introduce yourself a little bit.
So, Dustin Apple, a.k.a. WhiteriverRambo. I started online stuff in like 2011 because I wanted to dig deeper into bow fishing. So I started bow fishing. I started bow hunting in like 93, and a buddy of mine had a bow fishing arrow, and so legit had an arrow, and we went to the creek to shoot fish. And so I shot by myself and with my wife for a long time. In 2011, I joined bowfishingcountry.com, which is a forum, and at the time it was a great asset. And I started, just so I could share stuff on that forum, I started creating content. I started doing videos of what I was doing. Long story short, that lasted for 4 or 5 years. And like, I cut a boat in 5 pieces in my yard, taught myself how to weld from watching YouTube and doing things of that nature. And well, come to current date, I'm now a host for weld.com, and I teach other people how to weld aluminum.
That's awesome.
I run a small aluminum-only shop in Salem, Indiana, entitled WhiteriverRambo Customs. You can find me on Facebook, Google, whatever. And I specialize in aluminum boats, in either repairing, modifying, or I'll even build from scratch. Specialized catering to bow fishermen, cat fishermen, river rats, the things of the sort.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of that around here. And when people find me, they are so happy that, they can put their dreams down on paper and then bring me their boat, and I can take care of that. So it's been a lot of fun. I've had a really good experience with it. I've been doing it for 2.5 years, I guess. When COVID, it kind of changed everything. COVID changed everything for a lot of people, is what I'm trying to say. And I just decided that I was going to be self-employed. And so that took off. And then not long after that, I was doing the social media thing, and my TikTok started blowing up, and that made my YouTube bigger and all kinds of things. So probably the highlights of some of the things that I've done over the last 5-6 years, Caleb Copeland, which, if any of you are creators out there, you need to be following Redneck Tech Podcast. He is a videographer for The Habit TV, Lee and Tiffany, and there's 3 or 4 others that him and his crew video for. I was fortunate enough to, like, Caleb's been a friend of mine for a long time through bow fishing, okay? Mm-hmm. All the people that he, messes around with are bow fishermen, so we've known each other through that for a long time. But I was able to attend his production master class, so to speak. And he's having another one come up the first week of March. Just go check out Redneck Tech Podcast on Instagram, and you'll be able to find him pretty easy. But I learned more from that man in 4 days than I learned from a decade of trying to do social media by myself. And it's just, and it's all aspects of it, from production, videography, and the social side of it too, all the way down to being able to talk to someone about, look, this is what I can do for you as a, producer, as a content creator. And that's, that kind of bridges the gap, because some people are really good at creating content, and others are really good at customer service and being able to present themselves. I'm not really either. I'm a hunter, fisher, boat builder, creative guy who likes to, bend metal with my hands. I create stuff for fun, But when we went to the ATA show here last week, that was my 7th time on the ATA floor, and I have never presented myself correctly. Okay, I always stepped into a booth and said, "Hey, do you want to do a video?" Well, yeah, sure. We'd love to do a video. And I had people in the past say, what do you do? What are you about? And before it was always, I'm just a YouTube guy, and I said that because that's their buyer's week. All right. That's when they're to try to communicate with outside sales or with, high corporations. Some of them don't want to see a guy like me just step in and start creating content. But where I messed up was stepping in there and saying, I just do YouTube.
Right.
Now hunting shows suck. I'm sorry if you're a fan of hunting shows, but they're terrible. The only one that I can watch is the hunting public, because I know those guys. I know they are 1,000% transparent down to every aspect of it. And I like watching those guys. They don't overproduce it. They don't oversell it. They just do what they do. And that's what I love.
And it's gold.
But so this year, and the weld.com thing really got me a little inflated, I'll kind of say, a little relaxed about what I'm able to produce. So when someone come to me after a video and they're like, well, tell me about you. What do you do? Now I say it completely differently. I've been a content creator on YouTube for 10 years. I've run 2 YouTube channels. Of course, I do all the social medias. My TikTok's got like 45,000 around bow hunting and hunting and archery and things of that nature. But I'm also a creator for weld.com. And, I teach people how to weld and things of that nature. For the ones who know, if you know what Paradigm is, GSM and Kinsey, if you know what all those corporations are, weld.com would be like all of those combined and then double it. That's how big they are. So for the ones who knew what I was talking about, they go, oh, really? And then you hand them their card and all that. And it's kind of in their playing field at that point. But I pro staff for a while. I was a pro staffer for Paradigm for 6 years around bow fishing. Okay. And created a few products with them to help bow fishermen. But when it come down to it, that pro staffing stuff, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Okay, a big corporation like that doesn't really pay attention to what the little guy has to say. Now, if you staff for a small entity, a mom and pop group, something like that, and you look at them and say, look, this product's good, but if you move this down a little bit, or if you added something here, then it would be great. Okay, they love that stuff because they take it and they make their stuff better. Corporations aren't like that at all. So I shy away, and I don't do any staffs at all anymore. But I still do what I like to do, right? I create content, and I've created content for a few brands. They just, reach out to me. Look, we got a product that we want to work on. What do you think about it? Is there something that you can, create content about? Sure. I mean, here's my rate. Here's what I do. What kind of setting do you want it in? Like I've got some products that we're talking about spring turkey hunting. I'm like, I'm in Indiana. If you want it now, there's going to be travel expenses ensued. And I'm going to have to drive south for a photo shoot for a day. Okay, we'll add that into the cost, just FYI. But if you want to wait till the first week of April before we produce that content, then, that's going to be a little bit less cost for you. So it's just so many little things like that I didn't know. And it was all stepping stones to get to where I am today. But it still fuels the passion, like what you're doing right now, that you get to hunt year round, right?
Basically, yeah. You get to talking about it every week.
Exactly. So, I looked up a little while ago. It's 8 months and 2 weeks until Indiana deer season starts.
Let's go.
So what are you going to do between now and then, and how are you working to make sure that this coming season is successful, so to speak?
Right.
So, I mean, you got to be working harder than everybody else, right? If
Absolutely.
not, you're not doing yourself justice.
Right. I take a little break there in the spring. I wouldn't say break. I would say it's more of a passion chasing those turkeys as hard as I do, even all over the Midwest. But especially or deer, especially year round, is definitely a focus. Running cameras, we've made micro plots and dug ponds and all that sort of stuff. Whitetails are definitely a 365-day process in my household.
Yep.
So
Okay.
how did you get started in hunting in general and the outdoors?
So my grandfather grew up on a farm. We farmed about 300 acres and had 200 to 300 head of Holsteins and raised grain and alfalfa and things of that nature. Every year we'd sell alfalfa to the Kentucky Derby and things of that nature. So Grandpa was a sportsman, to say the least. I've got some pictures in the other room in there of, just I think it was of 1 month of him and his friend where they had the whole barn covered in coon hides. Okay,
That's awesome.
and oh yeah, it is awesome. But so Grandpa passed away when I was 15, I think. Um, and so had to sell the farm, had to do all that, and Grandpa wasn't a deer hunter. He didn't know a damn thing about it. He just taught me how to carry myself, how to shoot, and pay attention to what I was doing. And that's pretty much all he had to do. I grew from there. At that point, I was lost, but I knew that I wanted to deer hunt. My dad took me deer hunting for the first time with a muzzleloader, and I couldn't even hold the damn thing. It was like 15 pounds. And I watched him shoot a little 6-pointer. I'm like, well, okay, that's deer hunting. That's pretty cool. I want to be a deer hunter. So next year rolled around, which would have been 1982. He bought me a 1187. I'm sorry, an 870 Express 12 gauge.
Right.
And I shot a little 5-pointer. Didn't know a clue what I was doing. I got lucky. This guy walked by me at 20 yards, and so like I had the bug, and I started looking into the proc and all that. I'm like, wait a minute. Gun season is 2 weeks, and bow season is 3 months. I know what I'm doing. So I grabbed, and I should have got it down. It's back here in the corner. It is a wood-limbed brown bear round wheels bow from like 1970. All right, that was my dad's. I don't think he ever killed anything with it, but I would come home and grab that off the barn wall, and then go and steal a couple straw bales from Grandpa, and then I'd go practice every day. Well, that thing's like 50, 55 pounds, and it doesn't have any lead on it. Like it's maple limbs which stack. Well, I messed up. I got caught one day. Dad come home a little early from work, and he never said a word. He's like, you can actually draw that back. Yeah. Wait a minute. You're not even using sights. I don't know how. And he just walked back in the house and left me to it. But from that point on, summer job, bought my first bow, and the chaos began, right?
Right.
But it got pretty ugly there for a while. But now I got a bow shop here in my house, which is just me. I mean, if somebody needs something, I'll help you out. But just me and my wife. My wife's been bow hunting for 20 years.
That's awesome.
But I'm a little different than everybody else. I know the guys you talk to are like, yeah, we're going to chase them big bucks. We got to do all this and put all kinds of work in and name our deer and all that shit. That ain't me, man.
Well, a lot of people that have been on that I invite on the show are a lot like what you're talking about, and that's what I like to kind of base my show around. We're just regular guys that just happen to. We chase big deer, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the end of the world for us. Mostly, we're just having fun with one another and pursuing that passion,
Sure.
day in, day out after them whitetails, man.
With the TikTok thing and seeing so many people just trash everybody,
Yeah.
You have to take a step back from that and realize the only difference between you and that guy and the other however many million people are on that is just your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yep.
My wife is holding out for a monster. Like she still staffs for Faradine and bought one of the new X crossbows this year. And she had a couple 150-inch bucks within 60 yards of her, but she didn't feel comfortable taking those shots because she liked to hunt on the ground. She's just so worried about that. And then come the end of the year, she didn't get it done. She's just so upset. I'm like, what are you talking about? You saw bigger deer on the hoof, and we're hunting them right next to them, and like I don't do that. I don't hold out for those sort of things. You've got those encounters, and that's all you were hunting with to begin with.
Right.
So the difference between me and her is, quite vast. I pulled this off the shelf. So this is kind of my forte. This is a Pearson spoiler from 1992.
Nice.
Okay, round bow, just decurve limbs, decurve riser. Doesn't look like much, does it? Well, that would have been the flagship right about the time I started bow hunting. And it is so much fun. That one picture I sent you of the doe was the first thing I killed with it. My point is, when you get to the point to where you're getting soured on whatever, right? There's nothing on camera. I can't get it done. I guess I just need to buy a new bow or whatever, right? We've all been through that. You just have to find what works for you and what you enjoy.
Oh, absolutely.
I enjoy hanging critters out here in my walk-in cooler and skinning deer with my wife.
Yeah. And,
the stories that lead up to that. I also enjoy archery. You can see I've got dozens of things hanging behind me. I like setting something up, making sure that I'm good with it or whatever, and then going to the woods and capturing those opportunities that present themselves. I don't care. Now, I personally, I don't want to shoot anything under 120 inches, but, doe walks out and I'm holding that vintage bow, man, you better believe I'm sending something. It's just, and that's, me hunting on private land. My dad's got like 80 acres, and then my aunt has like 17. So it's not a lot, but we can scratch out some food plots there and put some cameras out. And I know it's there, and I know why it's there. It's because I've been passing deer for so long, right?
Right. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the show before, but I know that you'll appreciate this a little bit because I've heard you talk about it before. But my first bow ever that I ever had was an Oneida Screaming Eagle. Oh, I love that thing.
Yeah. Well, there's two of them hanging back there, but I can't reach them right now.
Yeah, that's what I cut my teeth on in the archery game before I bumped it up a little bit.
So the heavy 8-pointer that I shot this year, I did it with a black eagle.
Nice.
Which would have been about, let's see, a Screaming Eagle come out in 1989 and a black eagle come out in 1999. So
gotcha.
A little bit different there, but
absolutely.
Yeah, if you guys are into lever bows, I did a 45-minute history on Oneida Eagle bows video on my YouTube channel.
Yep.
And that's actually been one of my bigger hits because the Oneida thing is really, it's a cult following, right?
Right.
But for those who don't know, 3 Allen wrenches and I can take the whole thing apart. Okay. I can change the string. I can change cables. I can change preload, and I can also change the valley. So in conventional compound bows, right, you get a valley and then you set your draw length wherever it fits you, right? Mm-hmm. On Oneida, you can go with different size limbs and different size cams and different size modules. And a long guy doesn't want his valley until, say, 30 inches. He wants all power until it breaks off, right? But I'm a short arm guy. With a compound, I shoot 28.5. But when I shoot fingers, I actually like 27.5 because that allows me to pull right against that back wall. Now, we could do a complete podcast on
absolutely
eagle bows, because you can pull against the back of the cam, you can pull against draw stops. I'm not a draw stop guy. I tend to want as least moving parts on my bow as possible. So, but yeah, I got into Oneidas because of bow fishing. It's still, there's lots of lever bow brands out there now, and I mean, they're all good, but Oneida's the original. And yeah, they're just, if you spend a couple hours figuring out how to work on them, you'll never be lost, and you'll never need to go to a pro shop. And they're a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So talk about hunting Indiana. Talk about, some of the places that you hunt, and maybe some of the traditions that come with it. You sound like you got a couple maybe with your wife. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So, I mean, my wife's been a sportsman as long as we've been dating. When I forget if it was her junior prom or my senior prom, one or the other, she went to prom with a bruise on her shoulder because she missed her first turkey.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome to still have that picture this many years later. But I told her when we started dating, it was like, look, if you want to, be around me all the time, you're going to learn how to do this stuff. And I'm not going to baby you. I'm not going to bait your hook for you. And I'm not going to take your fish off your arrow and all this stuff. So, yeah, my wife is my co-captain. When we go bow fishing, she never misses a tournament. She can back a boat trailer just as good as anybody can drive one forward going down the highway. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. She's a school teacher. But I mean, when the opportunity presents itself, she takes care of business.
Sounds like it. Sounds like she's getting it done.
Yeah. So, we fish all over. As far as bow fishing goes, we travel around a little bit. As far as hunting Indiana, I kind of got off topic there. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine, buddy.
I started turkey hunting in like 99, somewhere in there, maybe. One of my great uncles come down from Muncie and took me for the first time. And I was, once again, I was hooked ever since, but he's no longer with us. And now I'm I won't say that I'm 100% bow only, because I bought a 410 the other day just to say that I can kill a turkey with a 410. So, you know how it is, right?
Oh yeah.
Got to put that notch in the belt. But, I've been bow hunting turkeys for a long time, and I kind of cross between public and private a lot, but I'm not one that really goes out and seeks more ground, because the ground that I have to run around on always produces deer, and generally it's low impact. I don't have a whole lot of people to compete with, and I like that. One of the things that soured me, I went through a little spell there where I didn't want any part of it. And I hate to say this, but I'm not really that much of a people person. And when I'm hunting, the last thing I want to see is another person. So, man, I brought it on myself, right? Gun season, and I was out on public ground. I kind of got upset with that and walked away from that side of it and just went bow only. And it's been a long time since I've picked up a gun, which is kind of heartbreaking, is how I got a handful of custom 357 Max rifles in there that don't get touched anymore.
What part of Indiana do you hunt? Just mostly down south there, Salem area?
Yeah, so I live in Washington County, but I grew up in Orange County. And let's just say everything an hour west and south of me, let's just put it that way. Yeah, I get around a little bit. Martin County too. there's a lot of resources in this portion of the state that don't get utilized very much.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's difficult because it's low access. The county sheriff don't like you parking on the road just because it's state forest right there.
Right.
But yeah, just kind of, generally, most years I don't leave the state. Some years I'll go abroad turkey hunting. I've been to Nebraska, I've been to Florida, been in Kentucky, and then I went out, for Colorado this past fall to try to kill an elk, which turned into a very expensive camping trip, but it was still a lot of fun.
Let's hear about that. Let's hear about this expensive camping trip.
So, yeah, for those who don't follow me on the TikToks, I'll be 45 years old here in 2 months, and I've always wanted to go out west. And I just told my wife one day, I'm like, are we ever going to do that? And she's like, well, if you really want to, just go. And I mean, that's how serious me and my wife conversations are, right? It's because she knows if I want to enough, I'm just going to. So I created a TikTok video. I said, hey, have you ever wanted to go elk hunting? Send me a message because I'm going and I need somebody to go with me. So I literally asked TikTok to go. At the time, I had like 35,000 followers. And of that, I had about 25 initial emails. I had quite a few messages. And then I returned them all, but only one guy stuck out. And his wife was the one who actually sent me the email and said, he's a do-it-yourselfer. He does everything, by himself, and you and him are a lot alike. Why don't you give him a call? Well, turned out he was in Cincinnati. And so I messaged him. I said, you want to go to Colorado? He's like, you don't have any idea how much I want to go to Colorado. I said, all right, let's go. I said, there's a 3D shoot. There was I can't remember the name of it, but it was over by Batesville. There was a 3D shoot over there, which was kind of halfway between us. I said, let's go meet each other next weekend. We'll go, shoot 3D for a round, make sure we click, make sure there's nothing crazy. And then you come on. And so we did. We went to Western Colorado for 10 days, and we never saw an elk, never saw a bear.
Oh, wow.
We saw lots of tracks, lots of big bear tracks, and some big bear sign. We did see a wolf, which, according to Colorado Game and Fish, there are no wolves, but we saw them. Heard one howl at us after I bugled once, and then saw one on the road. We took a small game license too, so our licenses was about $1,000, I think.
Dang.
So I think it was $900 for the out of state elk over the counter, and then there was some permit, and then like an $85 small game thing. Well, it was kind of a package deal because you got fishing in there with it. Basically, all I wanted to do was to shoot a grouse because, their grouse season's in there and you can shoot them with a bow. We saw two. One of them took off running through a pile of trees, and another one took off flying. I didn't get a shot at either one of them. But we were able to stop at some of the mountain lakes there, and we caught a couple little cutthroat trout, which was cool. It rained for 3 days, and then on day 9, we heard word from downtown that there was going to be 1.5 inches of rain coming over the next 3 days. So we packed our stuff up and came home.
I don't blame you one bit on that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't try to be getting soaked in the mountains.
So 1.5 inches of rain here is nothing, but on the mountain, it's completely different. It was just drying out when we got there. I got a 1/2-ton Chevy pickup, and I took a 5x10 enclosed trailer with me, and that's what we camped out of. I made a little loft in it and put a mattress in there. Worked out pretty good, aside from that 5x10 trailer scratched its belly quite a bit going up the mountain roads. It was nothing but soft mud. And it takes a long time to dry out. So the one section we was on, we climbed up on a plateau, and the main trail split off, and there's another base camp there. And we got up there, and those guys were like, "How's the road coming up?" And I'm like, "Well, it's pretty nasty." And I said, "How long you guys been up here?" He's like, "We've been up here for like 7 days because it rained when we got here, and we've not been able to leave." So
wow.
When I heard there was an inch and a half of rain coming, I'm like, "No, I think it's time for a shower and a 22-hour drive home."
Yeah, I don't blame you much on that.
We had a lot of fun. My buddy Ben that went with me, I mean, the guy worked his ass off. To let's see, the one morning when we worked the hardest, we had hiked 4 miles and climbed 1,500 feet in elevation 2 hours before daylight.
Dang.
And that doesn't, like, just saying that doesn't do it justice. It's kind of hard to explain. But the climbing, everybody says, "Oh, you got to be in such great shape to go out elk hunting." No, you don't. No, you just have to put the mindset in that I'm going to put this foot in front of the other foot, and I'm not going to stop. And that's what I did. So, like I said, I'm 5'11", 260. Now, I got out of breath quite a few times and had to stop quite a few times, but I mean, every day we put in 10 to 15 miles. Well, not quite 15, but I think the farthest we did on day 6 or 7 was 13 miles. But that's a lot, man, when you're talking
I guarantee it.
up and down.
Oh, yeah. I know how them I wouldn't even say mountains. I know how them hills and hollers in Kentucky get me during turkey season. I couldn't imagine an actual mountain chasing down elk with probably a big old pack on and everything else. I'm sure it was pretty rough.
So I took 2 different packs. I actually bought a great big frame pack for packing elk out, and then I got to thinking, man, that thing's kind of bulky. I better get a smaller one. So I got a smaller one. It was, I forget what it was. It was still like 50 cubic feet, or I don't know. Yeah. But I packed anywhere from 35 to 40 pounds with me every day, and I didn't need to. All I needed was water and snacks, because like when it would rain, I'd pull out a rain fly. By the time we'd get it out and get it over top of us, it'd quit raining. We'd sit there for 10 minutes and let it fall off the trees. And we'd spend 10 minutes rolling it back up. By the end of the day, you're wet from inside and out anyway, because you're sweating and working your butt off to climb a mountain. So you're better off just packing, your extreme necessities and just keep walking, right?
Yeah, I have a dream to go out there also. I want to chase muleys, though. Don't get me wrong, the elk thing sounds very exciting with them bugling and all that stuff, but for some reason, man, the muleys I'm attracted to the muleys. I don't know if it's the big mainframe, typicals they got and all the non-typical gnarliness that they got, but something about them mule deer, I want to shoot one of them.
So do your research, because there's whether it's whatever it is, CWD or drought or whatever, it's pretty rampant, but it's also pretty centralized. One portion of one state may be loaded with good animals, and another portion of the state, it just may be barren. So for whatever reason, some of those states are really good, and some of those states just like I would avoid at all costs. Right. And that's kind of what we got into with the elk. They were there a month before, right? But it hadn't rained out there in so long. And then when I got there, it was raining, but the elk had already pushed down to a lower elevation. And I didn't know that. So, we just walked around. I did get, on one day, we got into a group of moose, and we got within 15 yards of 2 different bulls, and I think we saw 6 altogether. But that was wild. The biggest one would have been a female with a calf, and she makes a draft horse look like a pony.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you put a draft horse in high heels, okay, and raised it up another foot tall, that'd be about what a adult female moose looks
Wow, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
So you said this was your seventh year going to the ATA show. Talk about ATA and what all was going on down there in Indianapolis.
So first off, if you ever have the opportunity to go, I don't care what it costs, go. Everybody needs to experience that once. It's pretty cool. I've been there for quite a few times, and I've got friends in lots of different genres. Okay. And believe it or not, a lot of them come from bow fishing, that do a lot of different things now. Corey Brossman's had his own TV show for like 16 years. Chuck Bellamore and Tim Wells, you know who those people are. They are generally at one or two bow fishing events that we go to every year. So, you know, I get to run into those guys and just, you know, BS with them for a while. It's really cool to go see the new products that are coming out. However, ATA is not what ATA used to be. It used to be that everybody held on to every secret they had, and when the ATA doors opened up, everybody let all their secrets out, right? Here's what we've been working on. Here's the new bows. Here's all this stuff. Well, now all the bows are releasing in October and November, which kind of ruins the whole ATA experience. When companies like Matthews and Elite say, well, yeah, we're too big for ATA, we don't need to go, it kind of ruins the whole experience for a lot of people. You have to understand that a typical booth at the ATA for a small entity, right, is only like 8 foot by 8 foot. But that company, that booth would have cost them like $5,000 for 3 days. Their expenses to be ATA members would have been, you know, about that for the year, plus travel expenses. You know, you're looking at 10 grand for 3 days if you're a small business. A big business like the larger corporations or any bow brand that take up a whole block, those people are spending 20 to 30 grand in 3 days just to be there at the show. Right. So I totally understand why people like Matthews don't go, especially since they haven't released new technology in, you know, like 5 years, aside from, you know, putting a replacement tire in between their limbs. But I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just, you know, just don't hoard your animals and it will all be fine. But it is really cool because there's no telling who you'll walk into, right? All those guys that I just spoke of, I know those people. But one that got me this year, I'm not sure how old are you? You might not know this one, but I went into Innovation Station, which Innovation is the people who are new to ATA. It's their first year as a company, right? So I walk in there and I hear this guy going, "Hey, how you doing there, man? It's good to see you. Won't you come?" And I turned and I looked. Before I turned, I knew who it was because I grew up watching Primetime and HS Strut and all those people. Alex Rutledge is sitting right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I start talking to him and, you know, talk about all the stuff that I'd followed him on and everything. And he goes, well, come in here and sit down in the booth with me for a little while. So I got to just sit there and rub elbows with Alex Rutledge, you know, and talk with him for a while. So super good, dude.
Yeah, he follows me on Twitter. I've interacted with him a few times on Twitter, talking some turkeys. Yeah. Yep.
Great guy. And that's what you have to – it's kind of hard to keep that in perspective, right, that they're all just people too. I've met the Shockeys. I've met, you know, Troy and Jacob Landry. I don't know. I've met a lot of people in the ATA, right?
Right.
And it's really cool because you can just walk up to them and just say thank you or say, I just wanted to shake your hand. You know, I've followed you for a long time or whatever.
Right.
And it's really cool to do that.
Yeah, I came down. I work downtown Indianapolis every day, and I met up with Mid-State Outdoors. My guys from Michigan came down, and we went and had a meal and some beverages after they left the ATA before the film festival they had that day. But it sounds like a lot of like contract stuff goes on too at a show like that. You know, companies re-upping with people for, you know, stuff on social media and that sort of thing. Sounds like a lot of that goes on too.
Absolutely. So yeah, I kind of walked into one of those, not meaning to, but Harold Knight and David Hill, which this was like my first ATA. I didn't know what I was doing, and they were behind a curtain talking to the one person, and I didn't realize that they were buying back into their own company that they had sold out on. But yeah, I walked up to the table, you know, man, you know, it's good to see you, Harold, or whatever, and I was like, oh wait, sorry, I didn't mean to do this. But yes, absolutely, there's a lot of contract and a lot of money being spent on TV shows and you know, just content creation and things of that nature at the ATA. There absolutely is. Absolutely.
What about any other shows, trade shows like that? Are there any of those you go to besides that one?
No, I do go to NWTF from time to time, but NWTF is pretty packed. And I mean, when it comes down to it, it's like going to the Indy 1500 gun show.
Right.
You can't really see the people that you want to, and it's kind of hard to see all the products, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some cool people there. You know, I know like Zach and Mary Phillips from, you know, Country Outdoors. They're always there, but I saw Zach and Mary up in Indy, so I don't really need to go. I love turkey hunting, but it's a lot of money, really, when you look at what it costs you to go down there and stay for a day, Grand Ole Opry, and all that stuff. And I just kind of had my fill of it.
Yeah, I'm for sure. I was going to say we were actually thinking about going down there this year. We almost pulled the trigger on it last year, but it's just kind of one of those things. Hey, you need on something like that, anyways. You need to get away for a couple of days. Let's go down to Nashville, have a little fun, check out some turkey stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now I would like to go to SHOT Show. The SHOT Show is going on right now. They opened yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to go do that. I'd like to go to Vegas once, but. Yeah, because that would be a good one. Have you ever been to NWTF?
No, I have not. I've been to like NWTF, like local dinners, and that whole deal is pretty fun.
That's not the same.
Right, I know.
Get your buddies and go, because if you've never been, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like the farm machinery show for turkey hunters. Okay,
right.
It's pretty cool. There's lots of stuff that you've never seen before, and all the people that you follow that, you know, turkey hunt, they'll all be there, and that's cool too.
Oh, absolutely. I know I get some of that kind of stuff, you know, when they do the Indiana Deer and Waterfowl and Turkey Expo there in Indianapolis. I get some of that feel, but I'm sure it probably doesn't even come close to something like that.
Put about 10 of them together.
Yeah, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, so, and usually there's some seminars and things of that nature, which I personally don't go to. But when you go, wear your logo, okay? All your boys wear your logo, and then if there's somebody that you look up to, step in, hand them your card, and say, "I do a podcast, I create content. If you know, can I have your card?" That gets you that contact, because so many people miss out on this part, right? Mm-hmm. You're doing the content, whether it be podcast or YouTube or whatever, you're doing it, right? Mm-hmm. But you need that networking. You need all the contacts that I have, honestly. But you need to you need to play that card, all right? And you may never hear from them guys. And right. They may not want to give you a card or say they don't have one or whatever. Give them your card anyway, because you never know. So just send me an email and we'll set something up. I'd love to talk to you. Love to have you on the show.
Yeah, everybody that I've reached out to when it comes to stuff like that, they've always been really nice and responded. Even sometimes if it's, you know, not the answer that you're looking for. Yep. But I just love, as far as this podcast goes, I love being the regular guy. I want to hear from the regular guy and on what they're doing, how they're chasing deer or turkeys or whatever I'm talking to them about. I just think it's fun to hear different stories from everywhere. Just like, both of us are from Indiana, but we probably do things way different than each other. But it's cool to hear those types of stories. It gives you a better perspective of the sport, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the more people you can talk to, the better sportsman you're going to be, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Troy Fowler was walking by while I was right there next to VPA. By the way, if you guys don't know, VPA
is some good stuff.
Yeah, it's in Fort Wayne. Yep. All their stuff's made in Indiana.
Yeah, I shoot the turkey spur. I was in contact with one of the guys there through email, and he sent over some turkey spur broadheads for last year bow hunting turkeys, or 2 years ago bow hunting turkeys in Missouri.
Yeah. See, once again, we do things completely differently.
Yeah, I just wanted to try them. Honestly, I'm using something completely different than that now, but I just wanted to try it out.
Yeah. I would prefer to have a turkey bleed than have an arrow stay in it.
Yeah.
So, I want an exit hole. But that's me, right? Mm-hmm. But I lost track of what I was saying.
Well, let's talk about your bow setup in general. Say, I know you have about 15 bows behind you, but let's just say Indiana whitetail, what's your bow setup look like? Arrows, broadheads, the whole get up.
So, yeah, with the YouTube stuff, I generally kind of dabble in a lot. My favorite is this right here. Mm-hmm. Can you see that?
A little bit. Athens. I can't read it.
Yeah, it's Athens, right?
Athens.
Okay. So this is last year's Athens. The new Athens that are coming out in 23 have integrate. Okay, so it's integrate for your sight, integrate for your rest, both. But I've been really impressed with what Athens has done. Now, Athens used to be in Indiana, but they sold to a husband and wife that live in New York now, and they have put a lot of time and energy into their bows. So if I'm buying a new bow, I'm going to look there, and I strongly suggest other people do so because fit and finish is unbelievable. Now, I have a 31 and a 33. The 33 is rock solid, unbelievable. But like turkey season, I like to hunt out of a blind or just hunt on the ground. And that 31, I can draw sitting on my butt. I started hunting out of saddle this year.
Same.
And, I like that quite a bit. And I still hunt with a lever bow. So it all depends on how I'm feeling that day. I apologize, I can't give you a clear answer, but
whatever you're in the mood for.
I shoot whatever I'm in the mood for.
I like that.
So here, what's this? Okay, so yeah, here the last bow that I took to the woods this year. This is a 1970 Bear Polar LTD. Okay, that was pretty big hit on TikTok. Everybody wanted to see me shoot something with that. But shooting that with fingers, okay? And then nothing crazy on the arrow as far as brand. This one's actually made in China. I strongly suggest that we as hunters pay attention to where we're buying our stuff from and try to get everything made in America because, well, you just can't hunt in China. And I don't want to give them any more of my money than I am already. Right. VPA 3-blade, a solid. And then I've got 50 grains of brass behind that. And I think that ended up on that arrow right there was like 16% FOC, and altogether was about 650 grains, which is a little excessive. Okay. Back to the Troy Fowler thing and Ranch Fairy, if you guys follow him. The Ed Ashby Foundation, all that scientific stuff is great, but it is an enormous rabbit hole. I mean,
oh, for sure.
You can drive a truck down it, right? And I've been all the way through it. I've built 800 grain arrows. I've built arrows with 24% FOC, and then I've come all the way back down. Generally, what I shoot, I stay somewhere at 500, 520 grains. It's absolutely perfect on whitetail, and then a solid cut on contact point, whether you want 2-blade or 3-blade or whatever. Do you know Cody Greenwood, Trad Lab?
I don't believe I know that one.
Okay, so if you dive into traditional archery any at all, Cody Greenwood, he is what is the word? He diagnoses things. Okay, so he compiles all this information, and then he pulls out what the true, benefits of that information is, right? Not the feelings, not the, oh, well, this brand's better or this brand's better. He shows exactly what's what, right? So, long story short, I keep up with his research because he does an amazing job. For the last 2 years, he's had people call in or text him. And if you killed a deer, now you had to kill it and you had to recover it, okay? But what type of bow you were shooting, what your arrow weighed, and where the hit was, and all that stuff, right? We're kind of finding out that third blade leaves a lot more blood trail. Hand sharpened broadheads cut at a molecular level, and they don't clot up. And if you had an exit hole, more than likely you found that deer.
Right.
To go against the Ashby Foundation on 650 grains and blow shoulders out and all that stuff, if you don't hit that heart or what the Ford Vital V, if you don't hit that good stuff, you're in trouble. It still has to be perfect, but right. I follow some dog tracking pages too.
Yeah.
And did you see the one that was in, I think it was in Ohio, where the guy, he kept track of all year of everything, where it was shot and if it was recovered and if it wasn't. The animals that were shot in the shoulder that, people couldn't find and had to call him, they weren't recovered. But the ones that were shot in the guts and the hind leg, everywhere else, except for that shoulder, they were recovered. Which is wild to me because I started shooting higher FOC stuff because I got sick of shooting stuff in the guts. I'd come back off a leg and I'd let it eat. Well, deer would take a step or a roll or whatever. Now, instead of me being 4 inches off the leg, I'm 8, 10 inches off the leg. And that's right about diaphragm liver. And I went for 3 or 4 years there. Every shot I took was diaphragm liver. And, they're like, well, I shoot something, I go eat breakfast or eat lunch, and I come back and I get my deer. I got sick of that stuff. I want to shoot something and watch it pinwheel, right?
Yeah, that's what I like.
Well, I'm completely leaving all of that because with the Trad Lab and traditional archery, these guys are shooting about 9 grains per pound. Okay, so, let's see. On their 40, 50-pound bows, generally they go up a little bit on that. They're still 450 to 500. But the guys that shoot a 55 or 60-pound bow still only shoot a 500-grain arrow. Those guys get full pass-throughs.
Right.
With a bow that shoots 200 feet per second. So I was talking, 3 years ago. Haas, Ethics Archery?
Yeah, I know that one.
Okay, so I sit down and talk to him, and just so happened, I think his name's Anthony, that owns Sirius Archery. And Hoss goes, how many deer have you killed in your life? I'm like, I don't know, 150, 200, something like that. He said, all right. He said, what'd you kill it with? I'm like, what do you mean? I said, what bow or whatever? He goes, you didn't kill any of those deer with a bow. You killed them with an arrow. And that clicked for me because if you buy a high-end rifle, whether it be to shoot coyotes with or for a Western hunt, right? Are you going to buy your ammo off the shelf? No. So we as a community, as an archery community, I'm going to include everyone. All right. You got a fancy bow. and that favorite camo. You've got your camo that matches your bow. You've got stickers on your truck that match all that shit. And then you went and you bought your arrows off the shelf. And you cut your performance in half when it comes down to it. So I'm a big advocate for building your own arrows, understanding what dynamic spine is, understanding how to tune, whether it be walk back tuning, bear shaft tuning, anything of the sort, and then hand sharpening your broadhead, because I don't care what a company says they're capable of. I have never in my 30 years of hunting got broadheads out of a box shipped to me and felt like they were sharp. So I buy one-piece broadheads now. Just like these VPAs are awesome.
Yeah.
And I got a leather strop, and the Troy Fowler thing on that really got me into sharpening my own broadheads. And I've seen the benefits of that. And it's pretty freaking amazing what a really sharp broadhead's capable of.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny you say that, opening your broadheads up and not feeling that they're, sharp enough. I actually cut myself on mine this year, opening them up from Exact Archery, who I do a little show before, or a little clip before the podcast for them. But man, I about took a little chunk out of my finger. I was just trying to get it out of the packaging and pulled a little and about cut my finger.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk later on that. But I wish I had some paper laying around here so I can show you how sharp this is. But
oh, I believe you. VPA broadheads are sharp. My buddy was shooting some of the single bevels.
So you have to sharpen these. I sharpen these on my last pass with the 2500 grit sandpaper. And then I get a leather strop out, and like the finish on that's sharpened, it is a mirror. And like 3-blades suck because the angle's all wrong, right? These are 120 grain, or 120 degrees. Each one's 120 degrees. So for you to sharpen that correctly, you should be somewhere around 20 degrees, 22 degrees. Well, you can't get to it because the best you can get is 30 degrees, but from the design, but it's still really, really good. Just because you can sharpen them like that. Just because it's fresh on the mind. Yesterday I saw Lone Wolf Custom Gear. Did you see the new broadhead that they brought?
I haven't. I've been so busy at work the last few days. I haven't been on social a whole lot.
So it's an aluminum broadhead, and it has some kind of hardened coating on it, and they say that it's super sharp and it's going to be forever. I'm like, if it's got a coating on it, you can't sharpen it.
Right.
And if it's it's a 3-blade. It looked good, but I was hoping it was going to be steel and be about 175 grains, and they're like, no, it's aluminum. I'm like, good luck with that shit.
I got a bad taste in my mouth for Lone Wolf Custom Gear. I tried to use their pocket arm for some filming and self-filming this year, and that thing's going. I'm gonna sell it, trade it to somebody for something. I'm done with that thing. That thing can't hold my camera like I need it to. It's not that it's a bad product. I think it's just my camera's too heavy for it, but I still got a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth for them, I think.
Just because I can see it, I'm going to grab it. Hang on. So, Matt Garris at Out on a Limb Manufacturing. Okay, you heard of Out on a Limb tree stands?
Mm-hmm.
This was made in conjunction with him and, Brenner. What's Brenner's name? Working class bow hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he got with Matt and they created this. This is billet 5/8 aluminum bar. And I want to say it was like $200, but man, it's so solid and it's packable. You see how small it is, right?
Right. Well, that's what I was running into. I have the Muddy Outfitter arm that I've used for years, but it's just too much to pack in when it comes to saddle hunting.
Yep.
I wanted something a little more compact, which think I found my answer to that. I think I'm going to be going with the 4th arrow for this coming season, even on some of the turkey hunting stuff. But I don't know. I'm sure it's not a bad product overall. I think if I ran a smaller camera, it would probably work out perfect. But like you just had, all that stuff, and I don't know, man.
What camera are you running?
I'm running a Canon XA11, fluid head, external mic, remote, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I ran an XA11 for a couple of years. Great camera, especially the night mode. It works really well. I know THP, they run the Sony 3300 and 4300.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little bit smaller. The XA11 is pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's why it didn't do well with that camera arm. It wanted to bend it off the tree almost.
Yeah, especially for that not being that big of a camera, right?
Right.
I would probably look into that. Do you do any DSLR stuff?
Not really. Just basically consumer camcorder.
I
do have a DSLR, but I mostly just use it for taking pictures. Grip and grins.
Yeah. Honestly, our phones are so good these days.
I know that's kind of what I've said all along here the last couple of years, because I thought about going and filming the hunts off the DSLR, and then I realized it was more work than what I really wanted to do.
Oh yeah, you can't in a tree stand. You can't film with a DSLR unless that's your sole job.
Well, that's been my sole job, so it's been pretty fun, man, just getting behind the camera. It taken a couple years to get some kills under the belt, and then finally back-to-back days, a 130 and a 140. It was that whole last season, November, was unreal, man, for the cameraman.
You can't have too many action cameras going. I bought an Insta360 when they first came out, and the editing software on that was just unbelievable to try to work through that. So I know 360 cameras have come a long way. I see a couple people using them, and they're great for catching everything, just not real well.
Right. That's kind of I run the GoPro, and I usually put it it's weird. I'll put it at the base of the camera arm, so it still moves a little bit, but I just have it angled down to the hunter. And it's funny, I had it both times, both of those kills last year, and it wasn't rolling either time. And I even had my phone hooked up to it. I have the little wrist remote and everything, and it still wasn't running. I was just caught up in the moment and worried about the bigger camera.
Yep, typical GoPro.
Right.
But on the other hand, they're kind of hard to beat as far as picture quality and their steady, their steady feature. It's just unmatched when it comes down to it.
For sure.
It's like I got another notification of a new Mike's Archery video just posted to YouTube.
Nice.
How far are you? Well, you're in Indiana, so where are you at in Indiana?
I'm in Knightstown, Indiana. I'm about a half hour, 35 minutes from the Ohio border.
Okay, so you're just west of Richmond.
Yes, actually, you just hit it a nail on the head.
Okay. So Mike's Archery is in Ironton, Ohio, and once again, one of my friends from back in the day of bow fishing, Amazon Rain Chicken is a cool little group to go watch. And he does all the creative content for Mike's Archery, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are what's your plans for 2023? You got any cool trips you're wanting to do or planning or anything like that?
Yeah, March is going to be absolutely jam-packed. I'm going to go back to production school. I can't get enough of that. That's just...
Oh, trust me, I know.
That makes me so much better. And the networking side of that is unbelievable too.
Mm-hmm.
And then Weld.com has me in Miami like the second or third week, at a show called Ink the Bay, which is tattoo artists and welders, which is kind of weird, but we're going to go down there and get together and do some content down there. And then I want to go up the East Coast and get with my buddy Matt Downs from Trick Tens. If you guys are into boats, you either got Tiny Boat Nation or you got Trick Tens. And Matt is a one-man show. He's on the coast, I think, in North Carolina or South Carolina, one or the other. Gotcha. And then as soon as I get back for spring break, me and my wife and my other buddy are supposed to go on an East Texas gar trip. So we're going to go down there and try to shoot some gar. I might hang out with my buddy Mark Land on the sometime in February. I usually try to get together with him on a hog hunt in Georgia, traditional only sort of thing. And then I get back into bow fishing. We get to, running around on the spawn. I'm building a new fan boat that's going to have my shop logo on it and all that, and to show everybody what I'm about. And then bow fishing season really takes off. We travel around with that quite a bit, going to different events all over the world. Well, I'm sorry, all over the Midwest. It seems like the world to me because it's the only world I know.
Same.
And then, we just grind it out all summer pretty much. I'm not planning on going out west anywhere. I wanted to go to Wyoming for Merriam this spring, but all of a sudden my March just filled up. And so I'm going to be spending a lot of money in March doing that stuff. So I'm going to stay close to the house as much as I can.
Yeah, I don't blame you one bit on that. What about some, is there going to be any Indiana turkey hunting in there?
Absolutely. I'm going to go into Crane a couple times and hunt. I've got a buddy that I didn't know could get me in there. And that came up just last week. And he's like, yeah, come on. He's like, you can walk across turkeys in there. So we're going to go do that. And then, of course, I got to take my wife and a couple people from out of town through networking have been talking about it. We'll see if they come through. I invited Alex Rutledge to come hunt with me. We'll see if that happens or not. But there's so many thousands of acres in the southwest corner of this state that really don't get bothered a whole lot. And if you're willing to put the time in and the miles, turkey hunting's fun. So,
oh, absolutely. I was just going to say, if you needed a cameraman throughout that process at all, you know one now, and a close one at that.
All right. Just kind of to wrap it up here, if you've been sticking around this long and you're a turkey hunter and you want to do something new, take a crossbow.
Well, that sounds fun too.
You can. So it's awesome to bow hunt turkeys, right? But then you get wore out quick because you're lugging a blind around, you're lugging decoys, you're lugging all that crap, and you're like, man, I really want to go back to chasing and running and gunning with my shotgun. Well, right. So I'm going to do it with a 410, which has a distance of about 25 yards. That's about how far that's ethical to me. But for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been taking a crossbow, and I can run and gun. I'm still archery hunting. I don't have an extended range. Okay, 30 yards is about max for that, in my opinion. And I don't have to have a blind. And turkey hunting with a crossbow is it's awesome.
Yeah, I bet it is. What kind of broadheads you using on that? The same ones that you are going to use on whitetail?
Yeah, either cut on contact or a wide mechanical.
Gotcha.
Like a 2-inch sever. Pretty good. Turkey don't have a whole lot of blood in it.
No. And your vitals are very small.
Yep. About the size of your fist.
Yep.
All together. That's all of it. So, yeah. Either way. And don't think that you need a light arrow or less poundage. Because when you hit a turkey, it actually moves him. And he absorbs that energy.
I'm going full bore at him. I don't know about everybody else.
Well, like I used to think that, yeah, I'll shoot a lightweight 3D arrow, and I'll be good. After shooting a handful of turkeys and the broadhead only going in and not even think about coming out the other side, I couldn't figure out what was going on until I videoed it one time and had that broadhead hitting that turkey, and it knocked him back about 2 feet, and the arrow fell out. I was like, wow. That's like trying to hunt deer with a pellet gun. What am I doing? Right. So I went back to 450 grain arrows and cut on contact, and getting that exit makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, man, I appreciate your time coming on here and talking with me, talking a little Indiana whitetails and some bows and some other stuff. But appreciate your time coming on, man. Do some plugging, man. Throw your YouTube and all that stuff. Tell everybody where they can find you at.
If you type in White River Rambo on your favorite platform, I will come up. If you're a boater, a river rat, a bow fisherman, whatever, I'm located in Salem, Indiana. White River Rambo Customs on Facebook. My phone number is everywhere. Text me, call me, whatever. I'm in my busy season. I will give you a heads up on that. But, yeah, I love chasing critters. That's how I learned how to weld, and, well, now it's paying me on both ends. So if I can help you be a better sportsman, I'd love to. So y'all stay safe, shoot straight, shoot often. Don't forget to wear them personal flotation devices. I'm White River Rambo, and I'll see you on the next one.
Peace out.